she asked. "Why don't you want me anymore?" Single dad smiled. "Because you gave away what was mine." The coffee shop breathed silence too heavy for what needed to be said. Raymond sat across from Valerie, watching her trembling hands stir sugar into untouched coffee, the same tremor from 8 years ago when she packed her bags and left their 2-year-old daughter sleeping in her crib. Through the rain-streaked window, his truck waited under the streetlight. Inside, Hazel slept, wrapped in their worn blanket. 10 years old now. Beautiful. Brilliant. Everything Valerie had missed. "Don't you think Hazel deserves to know her mother?" Valerie's voice cracked, tears gathering. "And us. We were good once. Can't we try again?" Her fingers reached toward his hand. "Why don't you want me anymore?" Raymond looked up slowly. Something ancient settled in his eyes. He smiled, soft as a funeral hymn, sad as autumn leaves, final as a closing door. "Because you gave away what was mine." The words fell quiet but absolute. Valerie frowned, confused. But Raymond wasn't talking about her love. He was talking about 8 years. 8 years of midnight tears she surrendered to silence. 8 years of questions she abandoned to his fumbling answers. Some things, once given away, are lost forever. Raymond had known this moment would arrive eventually. Sitting here now, watching Valerie's mascara smudge at the corners of her eyes, he felt nothing close to what he had expected. No rage, no vindication, just a profound, bone-deep exhaustion that settled over him like a familiar coat. The kind of weariness that came from 8 years of being both mother and father, of filling 2 roles with one body, one heart, one paycheck that never quite stretched far enough. Valerie looked different, polished. Her hair was styled, her clothes expensive. There was a confidence in the way she held herself that he didn't remember. She had become the person she left to find. He wondered if she could see the changes in him too. The gray threading through his dark hair, the calluses on his hands from working at Miller's auto shop, the way he sat, always slightly angled toward the window, toward the truck, toward Hazel. Even now, she was his true north. "I called your mother first," Valerie said, filling the silence. "She said you were doing well, that Hazel was thriving." There was something in the way she said thriving that felt like both question and accusation, as if she was surprised, maybe even disappointed, that they had managed without her. Raymond nodded slowly, his coffee growing cold between his palms. He thought about all the things he could say, all the things he had imagined saying during those early years. But what was the point? What mattered now was Hazel, sleeping in the truck with her favorite stuffed rabbit. What mattered was the life they had built in the wreckage Valerie left behind. A small life, maybe. But it was theirs, constructed brick by brick from love and necessity and the stubborn refusal to give up. Even when the loneliness felt like it would consume him, he had stayed. 'Cause that was what parents did. "She is thriving," Raymond said, and there was no pride in his voice, just plain fact. "She's in 4th grade, gets straight A's, plays soccer, has a friend named Quinn." He paused. "She's happy, Valerie." Or as happy as a kid can be when she spent most of her life wondering why her mother didn't want her. The words landed between them like stones. He was done protecting her from the consequences of her choices. Valerie's hand stopped moving, the spoon resting against the cup. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. "I was sick, Raymond. The postpartum depression. It was like drowning in darkness. Every day felt impossible. I thought leaving was the kindest thing I could do. I thought she'd be better off without a mother who couldn't function." She looked up, eyes wet. Raymond listened, and part of him understood. But understanding didn't erase the years. Understanding didn't explain why she never called, never wrote, never sent so much as a birthday card. Depression might have driven her away, but it didn't keep her away. That was a choice, a choice she made every single day for 8 years. You could have gotten help, Raymond said quietly. We could have figured it out together. But you didn't give me that chance. You just left. And I understand being overwhelmed. God knows I was overwhelmed every single day. But I was also her father, and I didn't get the luxury of leaving when it got hard. Valerie reached into her purse and pulled out her phone, showing him pictures of a bright apartment with large windows and polished floors. A bedroom painted lavender with a white desk and bookshelves filled with books. Everything designed to appeal to a 10-year-old girl who didn't know this room existed. I have space now, Valerie said, voice taking on hope. A real apartment in Portland, 2 bedrooms. There's a great school 3 blocks away. I've been promoted to manager at the bookstore, stable income, benefits. I've been seeing a therapist for 3 years. I'm on medication that works. I'm ready to be her mother. Raymond looked at the photos without touching the phone. The apartment looked nice, more than nice, the kind of place he could never afford on a mechanic's salary. But he had made their trailer warm. He had hung Hazel's drawings everywhere. He had built her a bookshelf from scrap wood. He had created a space where she felt safe, loved, wanted. The school here is fine, Raymond said, handing the phone back. Hazel's doing well. She has friends, teachers who know her, a routine that works. He could hear the defensiveness in his own voice. He had spent 8 years proving he was enough, and now here was Valerie, suggesting that maybe he wasn't. Valerie leaned forward, hands clasped. I'm not trying to take her from you, Raymond. I just want to be part of her life. Don't you think she deserves to have both parents? Don't you think she deserves opportunities? That word again. As if his love wasn't an opportunity. As if the stability he had fought for wasn't an opportunity. As if growing up knowing your father would walk through fire for you wasn't the greatest opportunity a child could have. She has opportunities, Raymond said, voice level but firm. She has a father who shows up, who goes to every soccer game, who helps with homework, who taught her to ride a bike and to stand up for herself. She has the opportunity to grow up knowing that at least one of her parents chose her, every single day. That's not nothing, Valerie. But Valerie wasn't deterred. She's getting older. She's going to start having questions about women things, about her body, about relationships. Don't you want her to have a mother who can talk to her about those things? She looked at him with something that might have been pity. Raymond thought about the library books he had checked out, the awkward but necessary conversations they had already started having. He had thought about all of this, planned for it, because that was his job. I've managed so far, he said quietly. And when the time comes for conversations she needs to have with a woman, we'll figure it out. My mother helps. Her school counselor is available. But what she doesn't need is someone who walks in after 8 years and expects to be called mom just because biology says so. He met Valerie's eyes fully. You don't get to leave and then come back and cherry-pick the good parts of parenting. You don't get to skip the hard years and then show up for the fun ones. Valerie's composure cracked. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but doesn't everyone deserve a second chance? She reached across the table, her hand finding his. We were good once, Raymond. We loved each other. Maybe we could be a family again, for Hazel's sake. And there it was, the real reason she was here. It wasn't just about Hazel. It was about reclaiming something she had lost, building a picture-perfect life with the daughter she had abandoned and the husband she had left behind. Raymond pulled his hand back gently but firmly. We were good once, he agreed, voice soft but inflexible as iron. But that was a lifetime ago. I'm different. I had to be. And I don't love you anymore, Valerie. I don't hate you either. I'm just empty about you. You're part of a past I had to let go of to survive. He watched her absorb the rejection. And as for being a family, we already are one, me and Hazel. We figured out how to be a family without you. We had to. The rain had picked up outside, turning the streetlights into smears of yellow light. Raymond could see his truck through the water-streaked window, could just make out Hazel's small form, still sleeping peacefully. She had always been a heavy sleeper. It was one of the few mercies in those early days after Valerie left. "You want to know why I don't want you anymore?" Raymond said, his voice quiet but carrying weight. "It's because you gave away what was mine, Valerie. You gave away the years." He set his coffee cup down. "You gave away her asking for you. Every night for 6 months after you left, she woke up crying, 'Mama, Mama.' I'd go to her, and she'd see my face and cry harder because I wasn't you. I'd hold her while she screamed for someone who wasn't there. Those nights were mine to carry because you gave them away." Valerie opened her mouth to speak, but Raymond held up a hand. He had been silent for 8 years. Now she was here, asking for forgiveness, and the words finally found their way out. "You gave away me explaining to a 2-year-old why Mommy left. How do you tell a baby that her mother chose to leave? I told her you were sick. I told her you needed to get better. I told her you loved her, but couldn't stay. I lied to protect you to a child you abandoned. Those lies were mine to tell because you gave them away." The barista behind the counter was pretending not to listen. Raymond didn't care. This was his truth, earned through years of struggle and sacrifice. "You gave away the Mother's Day when she was 3. Her preschool-made handprint flowers. All the other kids were excited to give theirs to their moms. Hazel gave hers to me and said, 'You're my daddy and my mommy.' She smiled when she said it. I cried in the car on the way home because she shouldn't have had to give me her Mother's Day project. She should have had a mother there to receive it." Raymond's voice remained steady, but something raw had entered it. "You gave away her first day of kindergarten. She was terrified. She held my hand so tight it hurt, and when the teacher tried to separate us, she panicked. Full meltdown. The teacher said, 'It's harder for single-parent kids.' Like your absence was a disability Hazel had to overcome. I stayed in that classroom for 2 hours until she calmed down. That fear was mine to soothe, because you gave it away." He could see Valerie crying now, but he couldn't stop. The dam had broken. "You gave away me learning to braid her hair from YouTube videos at 11 o'clock at night. My hands were too big. I made her cry the first morning because I pulled too tight. But I kept practicing, every night, until I could do French braids and fishtails. Those hours of practice were mine because you gave them away." Valerie was shaking her head, but Raymond leaned forward. "You gave away the parent-teacher conferences where every teacher, every year, would ask, 'And Mom?' Like there must be a mom somewhere, and I'd say, 'It's just us.' You gave away their pitying looks, their surprise when Hazel excelled anyway, because apparently children of single fathers aren't supposed to thrive. The memories kept coming. You gave away teaching her to ride a bike. I ran beside her for hours in the park until she finally got it. When she turned around, shouting, 'Daddy, I did it!' There was this split second where her eyes scanned past me, looking for you. And then I saw it register, that little flicker of disappointment. That look was mine to witness, because you gave it away." Raymond paused, taking a breath. "You gave away the questions that got harder. Why did Mommy leave? Became, was it because of me? You gave away me at 3 a.m., Googling how to talk to daughter about absent mother. You gave away my therapy sessions. Yes, I needed therapy. I needed help learning how to be enough when I felt like half a parent. But you were off finding yourself while I was falling apart, trying to hold our daughter together." He could see his words were destroying her, but she deserved to hear it. "You gave away the father-daughter dance in 2nd grade. I wore a tie. I learned to twirl her without getting dizzy. We practiced in our living room for a week. At the dance, she whispered, 'Daddy, I wish Mommy could see my dress.' I said, She'd think you're beautiful. But how would I know? I hadn't seen you in 6 years. I was guessing. Raymond's voice roughened. You gave away her 8th birthday party. Every kid came with both parents except one. Hazel. She blew out her candles, and I knew what she wished for. The same thing every year. She wished for you to come back. That disappointment was mine to manage because you gave it away. The medical emergencies. You gave away the pneumonia when she was 5. 4 days I slept in a hospital chair. You gave away the broken wrist when she was 7. I held her while they said it, and her screams still wake me up sometimes. Those moments of pure terror were mine because you gave them away. And the awkward conversations. You gave away me sitting with library books about puberty, trying to figure out how to talk to my daughter about her changing body. You gave away the conversations we've started having about growing up and all the things that would be easier if she had a mother to ask. You gave away me requesting a female doctor because I wanted Hazel to have a woman she could talk to. All of that planning was mine to do alone because you gave it away. Raymond sat back, feeling emptied. But there was one more thing. But here's what you really gave away, Valerie. You gave away knowing her. You don't know she's terrified of thunderstorms. We hide under blankets together, and now it's our thing. You'll never have a thing with her like that, because you weren't there to build those traditions. The small details. You don't know she hates carrots, but loves carrot cake. That she names every stuffed animal after book characters. That she reads at a 9th grade level because we've gone to the library every Saturday since she was 4. You don't know she wants to be a teacher because of Mrs. Patterson, who was kind when she had an anxiety attack during a family tree project. You don't know Hazel has anxiety. You don't know she sees a counselor every Tuesday. The friendships. You don't know her best friend is Quinn, who also has a single dad. They bonded over being different. You don't know that Hazel keeps a photo of you in her nightstand drawer. I've seen her take it out sometimes, just staring at it. You don't know that every achievement is shadowed by her wondering if you'd be proud. And I tell her you would be, even though I have no idea if it's true. Raymond's hands were shaking now. You gave away 8 years of her life, the formative years. And who she is. She's incredible. She's kind and smart and funny and resilient. She stands up for kids who get bullied. She volunteers at the animal shelter. She's everything I hoped she would be, and nothing I could have done alone. She became this amazing person despite both of us. The silence after Raymond's words felt like a physical thing. Valerie sat with her face in her hands, shoulders shaking. Outside, the rain continued. Raymond felt drained, hollowed out. He had carried those words for 8 years, and now that they were out, he felt simultaneously lighter and heavier. I was sick, Valerie said again, voice muffled. You don't know what it was like. She looked up, face blotchy and raw. Every day felt like drowning. I looked at Hazel and felt nothing. Nothing. What kind of mother looks at her baby and feels nothing? I thought there was something broken in me. I thought she'd be better off without me. Raymond had heard these justifications before. You were sick, he agreed, voice flat. I believe you. But I was sick too. After you left. I was so depressed I could barely function. I had panic attacks in grocery stores. I thought about ending it more than once. He watched horror dawn in her eyes. But I didn't leave, because that little girl needed me. So I got help. I found a therapist. I took medication. I showed up even when I wanted to crawl into bed and never come out. That's what parents do. We find a way, because giving up isn't an option. Valerie shook her head. But you're stronger than me. You always were. Raymond laughed, a bitter sound. You think I'm strong? I'm not strong. I'm stubborn. There's a difference. I'm just too stubborn to quit. I'm exhausted, Valerie. I've been exhausted for 8 years. But I did it. Because the alternative was abandoning my daughter, and I'd already seen what that looked like. I wasn't going to double it. Through the window, Raymond could see Hazel stirring but not waking. You said you thought leaving was the kindest thing you could do, Raymond said. But you were wrong. The kindest thing would have been to get help and stay. The second kindest thing would have been to leave and stay gone. But you did the cruelest thing possible. You left and then came back when it was convenient for you. Valerie reached across the table. I'm not trying to be cruel. I'm trying to make amends. I'm trying to be the mother I should have been. Raymond kept his hands wrapped around his cup. You can't be the mother you should have been. That chance is gone. You can only be the mother you choose to be now. If Hazel wants to meet you, that's her choice. But you need to understand something. I don't trust you. Because you left once, and leaving becomes easier the second time. The hard truth. If you want to be part of Hazel's life, you're going to have to earn it. Every single day. You're going to have to prove you're here to stay. You're going to have to build trust from nothing. And even then, you might never be mom to her. You might just be Valerie, the woman who gave birth to her, but wasn't there to raise her. You need to be okay with that possibility. Valerie nodded slowly, wiping her face. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes. She paused. But what about us? Maybe we could build something new, a new kind of family, for Hazel's sake. And there it was again, the fantasy of reconstructing what she had demolished. Raymond set his cup down with finality. There is no us, Valerie. There's you, and there's me, and there's Hazel. 3 separate people, not a unit. Not a family in the way you're imagining. He leaned forward. You asked me why I don't want you anymore. It's because wanting you, loving you, is a wound that took years to close. I'm not reopening it. I spent 8 years learning to be whole on my own. I'm not going backward. I'm not letting you back into my heart just so you can leave again when things get hard. The words were harsh, but necessary. The man you married? He's dead. He died 8 years ago watching his wife drive away from their daughter. What's left is someone different, someone harder, someone who learned that the only person you can truly rely on is yourself. He could see hope dying in her eyes. I don't hate you. I don't love you. I'm just empty about you. You are part of a past I had to let go of. And I'm not picking it back up. Valerie's voice was barely a whisper. So what now? Raymond stood, dropping cash on the table. Now I'm going to wake up my daughter and take her home. And tomorrow, if you still want to, we'll talk about what meeting Hazel might look like. But it'll be on my terms, in a neutral place, probably with a therapist present. Because I'm not letting you waltz into her life and turn everything upside down. He paused at the door, looking back. She looked small suddenly, diminished. You wanted to know why I don't want you anymore. The answer is simple. You gave away what was mine. You gave away 8 years. And I claimed it. I picked up everything you dropped and I carried it. Alone. And now it's mine. The years are mine. The relationship with Hazel is mine. The life we built is mine. You don't get to take any of it back. You can only ask if there's room for you going forward. And that's not up to me. That's up to Hazel. As it should be. The rain had stopped by the time Raymond stepped outside. He walked to his truck slowly, giving himself time to settle. His hands were still shaking slightly. He hadn't expected to say so much. But once he started, it all came pouring out. He felt raw, exposed, but also strangely cleansed. The truck door creaked as he opened it. Hazel stirred immediately, sitting up and rubbing her eyes. Her hair was mussed, and there was a crease on her cheek from the seatbelt. She looked so young in that moment, and Raymond felt a fierce wave of protectiveness wash over him. This was his daughter, his responsibility, his whole world. Dad? Her voice was rough with sleep. Are you okay? You look sad. Of course she would notice. Hazel had always been perceptive, attuned to his moods. He climbed into the driver's seat and pulled the door shut. I'm okay, kiddo, he said, managing a smile. Just had a tough conversation. You know how grown-up stuff can be. He started the engine, letting it warm up while he collected his thoughts. Was that her? The question was quiet, almost hesitant. My mom? Raymond's hands tightened on the steering wheel. He could lie, but he had promised himself he would always tell her the truth. Age-appropriate truth, but truth nonetheless. Yeah, he said softly. That was her. Hazel was quiet for a long moment, staring out the window. Raymond waited, not rushing her. This was her moment, and she deserved to take whatever time she needed. When she finally spoke, her voice was smaller. What did she want? What did Valerie want? To assuage her guilt? To rebuild a family that no longer existed? All of the above? She wants to meet you, Raymond said carefully. If you want to meet her, that's your choice, Hazel. Always your choice. He turned to look at his daughter, trying to gauge her reaction. Her face was carefully neutral, that mask she wore when feeling too much. You don't have to decide right now. You can take all the time you need to think about it. Hazel's hands were twisting in her lap. Do I have to? The question was almost a whisper. If I say no, will you be mad? Raymond's heart broke. How had he raised a daughter who thought he would be angry at her for not wanting to meet the mother who abandoned her? God, no, he said, reaching over to cover her hands. Baby, no. I would never be mad at you for that. This is about what you want. You're the only one who matters here. He squeezed her hands gently. If you want to meet her, we'll figure it out. If you don't, that's fine too. If you want to wait, that's also fine. There's no wrong answer. Hazel looked up at him, eyes wet with unshed tears. What if I meet her, and she leaves again? There it was, the fear he had been carrying for 8 years, now living in his daughter. Then we'll handle it, he said, voice steady. Like we handle everything. Together. You and me. We've survived everything else, haven't we? But he could see the doubt in her face. Dad, if I say no, will you be disappointed? The question gutted him. I will never be disappointed in you for protecting yourself, Raymond said firmly. If your instinct is telling you to wait, to be cautious, then you should listen to it. That's not disappointing. That's smart. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the engine idling. Hazel followed his gaze to the coffee shop window, where Valerie was still sitting. She looks sad, Hazel observed quietly. She is sad, Raymond agreed, about choices she made, about time she can't get back. He put the truck in gear. But her sadness isn't your responsibility, Hazel. You don't owe her anything. Not forgiveness, not a relationship, not even a meeting. The only thing you owe anyone is being true to yourself. He looked at his daughter. So what do you think? Want to go home and talk about this more? Or stop for ice cream and not talk about it at all? Hazel managed a small smile. Ice cream sounds good. Raymond smiled back. Ice cream it is. As they pulled out of the parking lot, Hazel spoke again. Dad, can I tell you something? Raymond glanced over. Always. You can tell me anything. She took a deep breath. I don't think I want to meet her. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Is that okay? Raymond felt relief wash over him. That's more than okay. That's your decision to make. He squeezed her shoulder. And if you change your mind later, that's okay too. This isn't a one-time choice. Hazel nodded, relaxing. I have you. And that's enough. I don't need a mom who left and came back when it was convenient. I need what I already have. You. The words hit Raymond with the force of a tsunami. All those years of wondering if he was enough, if his love could compensate for Valerie's absence. And here was his answer. He was enough. They were enough. Together, they were a complete family. I'm glad you stayed, Hazel added softly. But it wasn't an afterthought to Raymond. It was everything. It was validation for every sleepless night, every sacrifice, every moment of doubt. Me too, baby, Raymond said, voice thick. Me too. They went to the ice cream shop, nearly empty except for a bored teenage employee. They got their usual flavors and sat at a corner booth. Hazel had been quiet during the ice cream, working through something in her head. Raymond had learned to give her that space, to not rush her process. Some of his most important conversations with his daughter happened after long silences. Now, driving home through the darkness, Hazel finally spoke. Tell me about Mom, from before, when you loved her. It wasn't what Raymond expected. He thought about deflecting, but she had asked, and she deserved an answer. Your mom was wonderful when I met her, he said slowly. She was funny and smart and full of dreams. She wanted to write books. She loved stories, read constantly. When we first started dating, she would read to me sometimes. The road curved through a stand of trees. When we found out about you, we were terrified but excited. We didn't have much money, but we made it work. We painted the nursery together. And when you were born, it was the best day of my life. Your mom cried happy tears when they put you in her arms. She loved you, Hazel. I want you to know that. She loved you so much it scared her. Hazel was quiet, absorbing this. What happened? Raymond sighed. Life happened. Parenthood was harder than we expected. You had colic. You cried constantly. We were exhausted. Money was tight. Your mom started to struggle. Really struggle. She got quieter, more withdrawn. And I was so focused on keeping us afloat that I didn't see how bad it had gotten until it was too late. The hardest part. The day she left, I came home and she was packing. She said she couldn't do it anymore. I begged her to stay. But she was already gone in her head. She walked out, and that was the last time I saw her until tonight. He could feel Hazel watching him. I don't think she was a bad person. I think she was a sick person who made a bad choice. But those are two different things. They were almost home now. Raymond could see the porch light he always left on. I spent a long time being angry at her. But the anger just faded. Because being angry took energy I needed for other things. For you. For us. For building a life that worked. So I let it go. Not because she deserved forgiveness, but because I deserved peace. He pulled into their driveway. And that's what I want for you too. Peace. Whatever that looks like. They sat in the truck for a moment after he turned off the engine. Do you still love her? Hazel asked quietly. Even a little bit? Raymond considered the question honestly. No, he said finally. I don't love her, but I don't hate her either. She's just someone I used to know, someone who gave me the greatest gift of my life, which is you, and I'm grateful for that, even if I can't be grateful for much else. Hazel nodded. Dad? She said as they climbed out. Yeah? Raymond waited. Thank you. For staying. For everything. The words were simple but carried the weight of a decade. Raymond walked around and pulled his daughter into a hug. Always, kiddo. I'll always stay. That's a promise I'll never break. Inside, the trailer was exactly as they had left it. Hazel's homework on the table, dishes in the sink, laundry on the couch, the everyday detritus of their life together. It wasn't much to look at, but it was theirs. Built by hand, sustained by love, made sacred by presence. That night, they went through their usual routine. Hazel showered while he washed dishes. They watched half an episode of their nature documentary, her head against his shoulder. Then teeth brushing, pajamas, the ritual of tucking in. Raymond sat on the edge of her bed, the same bed where he had read stories 1,000 times. "Dad?" Hazel's voice was sleepy. "Tell me about when I was little." It was what she asked when she needed reassurance, so Raymond told her about her first steps at 10 months. About the way she used to laugh when he made silly faces, about the time she wore her Halloween costume for 3 weeks straight, the stories of her life, told and retold until they became mythology. "Tell me about Mom," Hazel said, surprising him again. "What was she like?" "Really?" Raymond took a breath. "Your mom was complicated. She had big dreams and big fears. She loved deeply but struggled to accept love in return. She was creative and impulsive, and sometimes selfish. But she was also kind to strangers, passionate about causes, quick to laugh at herself." He smoothed Hazel's hair back. "She gave me you, and for that, I'll always be grateful." Hazel's eyes were getting heavy. "Do you think she'll really stay this time, if I change my mind?" Raymond thought about the woman in the coffee shop. About the text he had sent. "Hazel isn't ready, maybe never will be." About her response. "I understand. Thank you for giving me a chance to try." "I don't know," he said, choosing honesty. "I hope so, for your sake. But I also learned that the only person I can really count on is myself. And you. We can count on each other. We've proven that." He kissed her forehead. "But if she does leave again, we'll handle it. Because that's what we do." As he was leaving, Hazel called out, voice thick with sleep. "Dad? I'm glad you're my dad." Raymond turned back. "I'm glad I'm your dad too, baby. Best job I ever had." He pulled the door partially closed and stood in the hallway, listening to her breathing even out. This was his life. These small moments of connection, of love expressed in mundane routines. Later, Raymond sat at the kitchen table with tea he wouldn't drink, staring at bills on the counter. Electric, water, insurance. Money was always tight. But they managed. He thought about Valerie's nice apartment, the opportunities she claimed she could provide. Part of him wondered if he was being selfish. But then he thought about what he had told her. You don't get to skip the war and claim the victory. What he and Hazel had built was theirs, earned through struggle and love. Money couldn't buy that. His phone buzzed. A text from Valerie. "Can we talk again? I understand Hazel isn't ready, but I'd like to understand better, to hear more about her, about the years I missed. Not to claim them, just to know them." Raymond stared at the message for a long time. Part of him wanted to delete it. But another part, the part that still believed in second chances, considered responding. He set the phone down without replying. Not yet. Maybe not ever. But maybe. What he knew for certain was that Valerie's presence in their lives would be determined by Hazel, not by guilt or obligation. Their family was complete, just the two of them. And if Hazel decided someday that she wanted to add Valerie to that circle, they would figure it out. But if she didn't, that was okay too. It was her choice to make. Raymond finished his tea and began his nightly routine, checking doors, turning off lights, setting up coffee for morning, the small rituals that marked the end of one day and prepared for the next. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. But tonight, in the quiet darkness of their small home, with his daughter sleeping peacefully, Raymond felt something he hadn't felt in years. Contentment, maybe. Or peace. The sense that despite everything, he had done something right. He had loved his daughter unconditionally. He had stayed. Some things, once given away, are lost forever. But what he and Hazel had could never be taken. It was theirs, forged in fire, unbreakable. And as Raymond finally made his way to bed, exhausted but at peace, he knew with absolute certainty that he would do it all again. Every sleepless night, every moment of doubt, every sacrifice. Because loving Hazel wasn't a burden, it was a privilege, the greatest privilege of his life. What Valerie had given away, he had claimed, and he wasn't giving it back.